For weeks now, we've been told the same line, that Iran's military has been crippled, that their missile forces have been devastated, that their navy has been destroyed. But here's the problem. Ships are still burning in the Strait of Hormuz. Missiles are still hitting targets across the Middle East. Drone attacks are still forcing Western bases to fire interceptor after interceptor, and global oil markets are still in chaos. So tonight we're asking a simple question. If Iran's military has supposedly been wiped out, why does the war keep getting worse? The Strait of Hormuz is still a problem. Let's start with the choke point that matters most, the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 20% of the world's oil supply normally passes through that narrow stretch of water between Iran and Oman. When the war escalated at the end of February, Iran's response was immediate. They began targeting shipping and warning vessels not to transit the strait. The result? Shipping traffic collapsed. Tankers stopped moving. More than 150 ships began anchoring outside the strait, waiting for the situation to stabilize. Oil prices surged past $100 per barrel, with spikes even higher during the crisis. And despite claims that Iran's naval capability had been smashed, ships keep getting hit. Just this week, 3 merchant vessels were struck by projectiles in the strait. 1 tanker caught fire and had to be evacuated. Multiple shipping companies suspended transit through the area. That doesn't look like a navy that's been destroyed. That looks like a country successfully disrupting one of the most important economic choke points on Earth. Iran is still striking targets across the region. Another narrative floating around is that Iran's missile capability has been neutralized. Reality says otherwise. Since the war began, Iran has launched large waves of ballistic missiles and drones across the region. Targets have included U.S. bases in Kuwait, military facilities in Bahrain, infrastructure in the UAE, ports and oil tankers in Oman. In Kuwait alone, 97 ballistic missiles and 283 drones were launched towards U.S. and allied targets. Even with heavy air defense interception, several strikes still caused damage and casualties. In Bahrain, Iranian strikes even hit buildings near the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters, injuring personnel and civilians. And in the UAE, hundreds of drones and missiles forced air defenses into continuous operation, with debris falling into populated areas after interceptions. So again, if Iran's missile force has supposedly been wiped out, why are we still intercepting hundreds of them? Drones and asymmetric warfare. Iran's strategy has never been about matching the U.S. ship for ship. It's about asymmetric warfare. Cheap drones, sea mines, explosive boats, anti-ship missiles, and that strategy appears to be working. Western bases in the region are firing so many interceptor missiles at Iranian drones that new supplies have to be flown in just to keep up. Think about the economics for a moment. A drone costing maybe tens of thousands of dollars forces the launch of an interceptor missile that can cost hundreds of thousands or even millions. That's not just a military battle, that's a financial strategy. The global cost. The economic impact is already massive. Because the Strait of Hormuz carries about 1/5 of global oil supply, disruptions there ripple across the entire world economy. Oil prices surged, shipping routes are changing, some vessels are now rerouting thousands of miles to avoid the conflict zone. Even the Panama Canal is expecting increased traffic because ships are choosing longer routes to bypass the Gulf entirely. When supply routes shift like that, everything becomes more expensive. Fuel, shipping, food, manufacturing. And Americans feel it every time they pull up to the gas pump. Wars aren't fought only with missiles. They're fought with narratives. Every government involved in this conflict has a reason to claim victory. But the evidence suggests something different. Iran is still firing missiles, Iran is still launching drones, Iran is still attacking ships, and the Strait of Hormuz is still effectively paralyzed. History is full of wars where leaders said the enemy was finished, right before the conflict got worse. The reality is that Iran's strategy has never been about defeating the United States in a conventional war. It's about making the conflict too expensive, too disruptive, and too politically painful to sustain. And judging by the shipping crisis, the missile strikes, and the economic shockwaves, that strategy might be working better than any people want to admit. Thanks for watching Behind the Line podcast. Please like, share, and follow. You can find us on all the social media sites. And please drop a comment below and tell me what you think about how this war is going.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.